If you felt the need to view this video titled Digital Piracy, a Contextual Definition, then it may not be too presumptuous of me to assume you seek a better definition of just what exactly digital piracy is. Piracy, for many, inspires mental images of plunderers of the sea, garbed in eye patches and plumed hats. In modern times, these fearsome folk hero criminal hybrids have inadvertently loaned their name to a group of people that couldn't seem more different. When you think of digital piracy, you may think of some hacker breaking into computers and taking data. While this person is most definitely the easiest example of a digital pirate, naming just them would be far too narrow of a definition. Many people you know have probably been guilty of digital piracy at some point without being too aware of it. Millions of people used to use Napster, one of the first file-sharing sites, to introduce consumers to the joys of free downloaded music. It was also the first example of just how seriously the recording industry takes piracy. The legal crackdown following Napster's explosion into the public eye included lawsuits that ultimately killed Napster, individual lawsuits against its users, PSAs from rich music stars asking people to stop downloading music so that they could make more money, and the birth of many other file-sharing and music download sites that followed closely in Napster's footsteps. The music industry helped assign the intensely negative label of piracy to the act of downloading content without paying, somewhat of a ridiculous comparison to the aforementioned pirates of the ocean. But yet, despite the comparative lack of severity of their crime, so-called pirates have become victims of intense legal and social pressure, such as the unfortunate case of Aaron Swartz. There is also the curious case of Jamie Thomas Rassett, who was at one point ordered to pay a settlement of $1.5 million by a court for sharing 24 songs over a peer-to-peer download site, or $62,500 per song. This was later reduced, but is another example of the industry making a brutal example of an individual to attempt to dissuade other would-be file sharers and pirates. While the film and music industries help promote the label of pirate, it doesn't stop some from using the label as a point of pride. One such player is the Pirate Bay. This site helps prove that just about anyone can and likely is a digital pirate, as it is, at the time of this writing, the 95th most visited site on the internet. It advertises that it makes music, games, software, and much more available for download. This raises another point in defining just what digital piracy is. The piracy comparison is hard to apply to something that doesn't physically exist, like downloadable media. A common way to describe piracy I've frequently heard preached goes as such. Say I come up to you and take your bike, riding it away. I've clearly committed a theft because the specific bike you had has been taken away from you. But now let's say I come to you and take a copy of your bike. You have your bike and I have my bike, and we both didn't have to pay the bike manufacturer. While they might lose a little money in the form of one sale, how much does that harm a bike company that still sells millions of bikes a year? I personally find this analogy somewhat fallacious, as, for one, normal people can't mysteriously produce copies of bikes. Digital downloads are a different medium from a physical product, and it's more complicated than just a one-to-one comparison to apply our ideas of what a consumer good is to something that lacks physical presence. Also, the logic of, it's just one person, what harm can it do, while comforting, is clearly unsound since millions of people have taken to pirating software and media. Finally, not every company is a money-printing juggernaut. As a person who plays video games on a PC, this is all too clear. Many small developers struggle to stay afloat amidst the reality of piracy, and some games by large established companies never make their way to PC. A survey of 50,000 PC gamers last year found that 35% of them pirate games. Many will justify this behavior as a try before you buy mentality, but to return to the product analogies, I've yet to go to a grocery store where they allow me to take something off the counter home with me, promising to pay for it later if I enjoy it. It is true that many publishers people pirate copies of music or movies from still generate millions upon millions of dollars of profit a year. It's hard for many to feel bad for taking a $2 digital download profit out of a millionaire's pocket. I've outlined where piracy has come from and how people rationalize it, but I've predictably saved for last the summarizing conclusion in the form of a definition of what digital piracy is. Digital piracy is the criminalized act of downloading or distributing media without the publisher's permission. The digital pirate just might be you.